My ex-wife cheated and left me for her lover, then she came back begging for forgiveness. But with one move I cut off her foolish schemes forever. 5 years ago, my ex-wife Sarah, now 48, cheated on me and left me for her friend. At that time, we had been married for 11 years and had 2 children, now 13 and 10. Sarah was my second wife, as my first marriage ended tragically with the loss of my high school sweetheart in an accident. My romantic journey has been marred by numerous difficult moments, with multiple dark chapters in my life. As I approach my 60s with a sense of gratitude and resilience, I've managed to navigate through all these challenges. The loss of my first wife was a wound that cut deeper than I could have ever imagined. In my early 40s, I found myself adrift in a sea of grief, unmoored by the absence of the woman who had been my anchor since our high school days. We had no children to tether me to the world, and without that grounding force, I felt as though I were floating through life without purpose or direction. The pain of her passing drove me to dark places, nights blurred by heavy drinking, days lost to self-destructive habits that I scarcely recognized as my own. It was during this bleak chapter, in the dim glow of a bar where broken hearts sought solace, that I met Sarah. Both of us were nursing wounds, hers from a different kind of loss, but no less raw. Our connection was immediate, a spark of understanding between two souls seeking refuge from their respective storms. I won't shy away from admitting it, I was a man in desperate need of emotional rescue, clinging to the warmth of her presence like a lifeline. Within months, our bond deepened, and in less than a year, Sarah proposed. The idea of marriage felt like a leap into the unknown, but I said yes, swept along by the tide of her certainty and my own longing for stability. Looking back, I question whether I was truly ready to step into marriage again. My heart was still bruised, my spirit fragile from the weight of loss. Sarah, in her early 30s, radiated a fierce determination to build a life together, to root herself in the commitment she craved. She had recently ended a casual relationship with a man she referred to as a friend, a relationship marked by fleeting intimacy and unrequited feelings. For years, they had been friends with benefits, but while Sarah's heart had begun to yearn for more, he remained steadfastly unavailable, unwilling to offer the commitment she sought. Eventually, she chose to walk away, severing ties with him to pursue a future unburdened by his indecision. By the time we met, that man had already married someone else in a quiet ceremony, a fact that seemed to close the door on her past. When Sarah laid out her ultimatum, marriage or nothing, I felt a pang of fear at the thought of losing her. She was a beacon of light in my shadowed world, and the idea of letting her slip away was unbearable. Some might call my decision to marry her hasty, a choice born of vulnerability rather than clarity. Yet, in that moment, it felt like the only path forward, a chance to rebuild a life that had crumbled. I carry no regrets for the years I spent with Sarah. Our marriage, though not without its challenges, was a tapestry woven with moments of joy and fulfillment. We welcomed 2 beautiful children into the world, a son and a daughter who became the center of my universe. Though I had once dreamed of a larger family, the reality of our life together was rich and meaningful. For 12 years, we built a stable home, one filled with laughter, shared dreams, and the quiet comfort of routine. Sarah was a devoted mother and a partner who brought warmth to our days. But beneath the surface of our seemingly contented life, there were undercurrents I failed to notice until it was too late. The unraveling began when a mutual acquaintance re-entered our lives, a man who, I would later learn, was Sarah's former lover, the same friend whose commitment issues had once broken her heart. His return stirred something in her, rekindling a connection that I had naively believed was buried in the past. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, Sarah began to drift away, her heart pulled toward a man who promised her the love she had once craved. The discovery of her infidelity was a blow that shattered the foundation of our marriage, leading to a divorce that left me as the sole custodian of our children. In the years that followed, I poured my energy into raising our son and daughter, now 13 and 10. They became my purpose, my reason to keep moving forward despite the ache of betrayal. I rebuilt our lives, brick by brick, creating a home filled with love and stability. The wounds of the past began to heal, though the scars remained. Then, last week, Sarah appeared at my doorstep, a ghost from a life I had worked hard to leave behind. The woman who stood before me was a shadow of the Sarah I once knew, pale, weary, her eyes swollen from sleepless nights and tears. The sight of her stirred a mix of emotions, pity, anger, and a faint echo of the love we once shared. Overwhelmed, she collapsed into sobs the moment she saw me, her apologies tumbling out in a flood of regret. I couldn't bring myself to turn her away, not in that moment. I invited her inside, my mind racing with questions. The children were away at summer camp, leaving the house quiet, a stillness that amplified the weight of her presence. As she calmed, Sarah shared the painful truth of her recent years. Her affair partner, the man for whom she had left our family, had abandoned her. He had returned to his native country in southern Europe, leaving behind a note that revealed the cruel reality of his double life. "I'm sorry, I can't marry you. I have a wife and children at home." For 4 years, he had strung her along, exploiting her devotion while concealing his true commitments. The betrayal she felt mirrored the one she had inflicted on me, and I found myself caught between conflicting emotions. A part of me felt a grim satisfaction, a sense that justice had been served. Yet, another part ached for her, recognizing the depth of her pain. I held my tongue, resisting the urge to lash out or gloat. Instead, I listened as she poured out her story, her voice trembling with despair. She spoke of me as her last hope, a plea for forgiveness and a chance to rebuild what she had broken. But the trust between us had been shattered, not once but twice, and I knew I could not open my heart to her again. The years since our divorce have taught me the value of boundaries, of protecting the peace I've worked so hard to cultivate. Sarah's infidelity had not been a singular lapse but a pattern, her heart tethered to a man who had never truly valued her. She had remained faithful to me for 11 years, but only because her affair partner was out of reach, his absence a temporary barrier to her desires. When he returned, she didn't hesitate to leave, not just me, but our children, abandoning them for a love that proved illusory. I told her, with as much kindness as I could muster, that I had moved on. I bore her no ill will, but trust, once broken so thoroughly, could not be rebuilt. She begged for forgiveness, tears streaming down her face, and I assured her that I had forgiven her, not for her sake, but for my own peace. I offered the possibility of joint custody, contingent on our children's approval, but even that felt like a concession I wasn't sure I could make. Her sudden reappearance stirred a restlessness in me, a reminder of the drama I had fought to leave behind. All I want now is a quiet life, one free of the chaos that Sarah seems to carry with her. Reflecting on this moment, I see the threads of my past weaving together: grief, love, betrayal, and resilience. The loss of my first wife taught me the depths of sorrow, but it also showed me my capacity to endure. My marriage to Sarah, though flawed, gave me the gift of my children, who have become my greatest joy. Her betrayal, painful as it was, forced me to confront my own strength, to build a life centered on love and stability for my son and daughter. Sarah's return is a test of that strength, a challenge to hold fast to the boundaries I've set. I feel for her, truly, but I cannot let her disrupt the peace we've found. My children deserve a father who stands firm, who shows them that love does not mean sacrificing one's own well-being. As I navigate this unexpected chapter, I carry with me the lessons of my past, determined to protect the life we've built and to find solace in the quiet moments that define it. She expressed that I was her last hope and that she had returned to me because she believed I would forgive her and take her back. However, I explained that I had moved on from our relationship. Although I harbored no ill will toward her, I cannot let her walk over me again. I had forgiven her for cheating on me once, but she did it again. She was so madly in love with her affair partner that she didn't think twice about leaving her children for him. She remained loyal to me for 11 years only because her affair partner was out of the country. She came back now only because he left her. I told her I empathized with her but could not trust her again. She started sobbing again and begged for forgiveness. I told her that I had forgiven her, and the best I could do was let her have joint custody of our children if the kids were okay with it. She was not ready to leave at all. Unfortunately, I had to be firm and somewhat rude to make her leave. I told her I had to step out and insisted that she needed to go. Although she complied and left, her sudden reappearance has left me feeling quite unsettled. I've had my fair share of drama in life, and all I desire now is a peaceful existence. To be honest, even considering the idea of joint custody for our children feels like a significant concession. She very obviously doesn't care about them, so why would I allow her back into their lives if she'll just take off again? As I mentioned, my marriage was smooth for 12 years. Our problems started when Sarah's long-lost love came back into her life. He was the same guy she had broken up with due to his commitment issues. He had returned to his country after their breakup, and now he was back in the city. Sarah couldn't stop seeing him. Initially, I didn't mind when he occasionally visited us. She said she had moved on, and I had complete faith in her. We had shared 11 years of marriage with 2 children, and during all those years, she had been a loving wife and an exceptional mother. There had never been any indications or red flags to make me suspect anything untoward. Then, one day, she returned home and locked herself in a room. Despite our repeated attempts to call her for dinner and knocking on the door several times, she remained unresponsive. I called her phone to check if everything was fine. She texted that she was fine but needed some time alone. I didn't bother her and slept in the living room. The next day, she tried to act normal, but it was evident she was not. I asked her what was wrong. She said she had a fight with her sister, but it was nothing serious, and she would deal with it. She didn't want to share the details, and I didn't insist. I didn't try to find out the details from her sister because I don't like meddling in their private matters. She knew that trait about me, and maybe that's why she lied and made up the story about her sister. I took her words to be true, but as the days passed, I realized it wasn't about her sister. The change in her behavior revolved around her friend. Up until that point, she had been cheerful, discussing her friend and making plans to invite him over for dinner and drinks. However, after that evening, she abruptly stopped mentioning him altogether. I attempted to inquire about him, but any discussion on the topic was met with silence from Sarah. Additionally, while Sarah had clashed with her sister on numerous occasions in the past, her level of distress and agitation had never been this pronounced. So yes, it was my assumption, but it turned out to be true. Instead of spying on her and finding evidence, I confronted her and asked if she had cheated on me with her friend. Gladly, she confessed instead of gaslighting the situation and denying it. She admitted that when her affair partner returned, she couldn't stop herself from meeting him. It started with friendly meetups at public places, then catching up at his place, which reignited things between them. I asked her if she still loved him. She said no. She pleaded with me for a chance, saying she got carried away at that moment. It had happened once, and she felt guilty about her actions, which was killing her from the inside. She had ended her involvement with her friend after that evening. Sarah confessed that she had feelings for him when they were together, but he never reciprocated her emotions and had used her solely for physical reasons. She broke down and made heartfelt promises about never betraying me again. Despite my own hurt and confusion, I found myself falling for her all over again. I was deeply wounded but determined to salvage our marriage for the sake of our children. The younger one was barely 4 then, and divorce meant separation from my children, which I couldn't fathom. You could say I was weak for not taking that severe step. I forgave her and gave another chance to our marriage. I made it clear that if she ever betrayed me again, that would be it, and cheating didn't only mean sexual relationships. I wouldn't forgive her even if it was just emotional. She agreed. We rebuilt our relationship and went on date nights and vacations. It went smoothly for a few months until I got suspicious again. This time, I didn't let the red flags slide. Sarah had cheated on me once, and this time I was super cautious. It was about 4 years ago, so I don't remember the details accurately. However, the dynamics of our relationship didn't substantially improve. She continued to be distant and absent-minded, failing to allocate enough time for me or our children. She often appeared moody at home, yet she smiled while texting and giggled while talking to others on the phone. Sarah remained glued to her phone and actively avoided any intimacy in our relationship. Her mood hadn't improved either, leaving me feeling disconnected once more. I confronted her head-on, but she didn't admit anything was wrong. She played defensive and tried to gaslight the situation by making it about me. She blamed me for not trusting her and played the victim, saying I was constantly keeping an eye on her because she had cheated once. I tried to defend myself but realized it was futile. So, I did what everyone does in this situation, looked for evidence to expose her. I snooped into her phone and found she hadn't changed the password, which meant there was nothing incriminating in the phone. There were chats with her affair partner, but they were normal conversations from a month ago. At the time she had first cheated on me, I couldn't find anything on her phone. I was thinking of other means to find evidence of cheating, but before that, she confessed. She got to know that I had checked her phone. She said that if I was doubting her, I would eventually uncover the truth, so she'd better come clean. She admitted she tried to distance herself after the first confrontation, but he begged her to return. She had initially avoided her friend, fearing it would create problems in our relationship. However, this time, he assured her of his love and commitment, expressing his intention to marry her once he sorted out some personal matters. So, they decided to keep their relationship a secret. She admitted to feeling guilty about cheating on me but couldn't resist the opportunity to be with her affair partner. I realized that she had never truly stopped loving him but had suppressed her feelings due to his past commitment issues. Now that her affair partner was serious about her, she couldn't resist. She asked for a divorce, and I wanted custody of my children. I felt she also wanted to get rid of the children because she immediately agreed and requested to meet them weekly. I nodded but told her she had to break the news to the children, and she could use any reason she wanted, but it shouldn't show me in a negative light. She told the children that we were divorcing because we fell out of love. It was difficult for them. We went through a lot of tears and pleadings from the children to reconcile. Their cries did make me bitter toward her, but eventually, I realized that even if she changed her mind about the divorce, I couldn't forgive her this time. So, divorce was the best option for us. I promised the children I would prove to be a good father. They didn't doubt that. I've always been an involved parent, not like the one who just shows up. It was not difficult for me to take up my full-time role as a single parent, yet the children miss their mom. Our divorce was settled amicably. I was undeniably hurt, yet I somehow managed to refrain from harboring a grudge. Some might call me a coward, or perhaps it was my age that led to my somewhat immature response. Regardless, I made the decision to let her go. Those initial months were exceptionally challenging, particularly with our younger child. I tried my best to provide them with multiple vacations, trips, picnics, and all sorts of activities to keep them happy. Sarah visited them once a week, but eventually, she relocated with her partner to Alabama. By then, the children had moved on, and so had I. In the last 4 years, the children have grown to be kind, resilient, and emotionally strong. Sarah used to call them after moving out from here. Initially, the children used to hang up on her and despise her, but with time, they became forgiving and understanding. They're now cordial with her. As for the current situation, when my children came back from their summer camp and learned about their mother, they were not so sorry for her. They were like, she chose that for herself. I tell you, these young generation kids, they freaked out when I told them about my proposal of joint custody. They refused to see her or live with her. I reassured them that nothing would be settled without their approval, emphasizing that it was ultimately their decision. They made it clear that they didn't want to be away from me and voiced their concerns that Mom might abandon us again if her affair partner resurfaces. I can't help but wonder what kind of hold her partner has over her that keeps drawing her back, even after multiple betrayals. If she was capable of cheating the first time without showing any signs of red flags, then she was more than capable of doing it again. She was obviously hung up on this guy for quite some time, and even though he was out of sight, he most definitely wasn't out of mind. After finding out your partner is cheating, it seems only fair to be able to ask questions and seem suspicious. It's a well-known fact that a cheater who gets defensive when asked random questions often has something to hide. To those who may have labeled me a simp, I'm not quite sure what that means, but I can say that I'm definitely an old school guy. And yes, quite literally, I'm 58 years old. We don't hunt down women and scorch them if they stop loving us, we let them go. However, this doesn't mean we let them walk all over us. We draw that line. So, Sarah came back again. This time, the kids were at home. They flipped out on seeing her. I asked them to be well behaved. They spoke to her for some time and then went to their room. Sarah asked me if I had given any thought to reconciliation. I said reconciliation was not on the table for sure, and also, the children don't want to stay with her, but I'm okay if she could convince them. I don't want to make assumptions, but it does seem like Sarah might not be keen on having children either. She mentioned that she couldn't afford to have the children with her and had been staying on an old friend's couch, someone who could ask her to leave at any time. While I was aware of her financial struggles, I had no inkling of just how dear her situation was. Before we got married, she used to work as a receptionist. She left the job shortly after our marriage. I tried my best to provide her with a good life. During our divorce, she was compensated fairly. I asked her what she did with that money. She gave it to her affair partner, Alex, to help him with his day business. Not only that, she had to take up 2 jobs to run their kitchen in Alabama. Despite all this, her affair partner left her. He took all their savings, leaving only the money she had kept away from Alex's knowledge, which was there with her. She used it to travel back and had been surviving on that. I offered to lend her some money to rent a condo and get her life together, but she declined. She said she always sought love, not money, and if money was that important, she wouldn't have left a stable life with me for broke Alex. She wanted to live with us like a family, but that was not possible. Sometimes, I do feel bad for her, but we don't have space for her in our lives. I gave her a check and asked her to rent a house, get a job, and seek therapy. It's evident that Sarah is going through a difficult time and could use some support. I've asked my kids to be compassionate toward their mom since, after all, she gave birth to them. They have become more gentle with her, but they are still not open to having her back in their lives. Sometimes, Sarah sends me texts questioning if she deserves all the hate she's been receiving. I'm at a loss for words, but it's undeniable that she has hurt both me and the children deeply. Some might say I went above and beyond what she deserved by giving her a check. In a way, it could seem like letting her walk all over me. She dug her grave, and now she can lie in it or dig herself out by herself. It was the same cycle of Sarah showing up randomly, breaking down, and asking me to get back together. But in the last 7 months, my family dynamics have gotten complicated. About 1.5 to 2 years back, before Sarah came back into our lives, I met this woman named Rebecca. She's 62, runs a flower boutique, and is as active as a 30-year-old. We started as friends, but after a year of getting to know her, I genuinely enjoyed her company. I often spent my evenings and weekends at her shop, assisting her with various tasks. I admired the way she managed everything independently. She had lost her husband at a young age and raised 3 kids as a single mom. Now that her children have grown up and moved out, she's been selling flowers as her livelihood. I feel so lively around her. I didn't mention Rebecca on this thread or to Sarah because it would seem like I'm not reconciling with Sarah because of Rebecca. It's nothing like that. I don't intend to marry Rebecca or anything. We're just too old, trying to enjoy the last leg of our lives without any drama. My children know about her, and they're happy that I have someone to share my feelings with. My older one is moving out for high school this year, and soon the younger one will also move out for high school or college. I'm not emotionally dependent on Rebecca, but I think having someone, at least a friend, to share your thoughts with at this age is precious. I had told Rebecca about Sarah's visit, and she reacted sympathetically to the entire situation. However, this didn't go well with Sarah. One day, she saw me at Rebecca's shop and spied on me for the entire evening. I didn't notice it, but with our body language, she understood that I was dating Rebecca. I think she followed us, and that's how she saw me visiting Rebecca's place in the evening and spending my nights there. One day, as I was leaving Rebecca's place, Sarah confronted me with an accusation that left me stunned. She angrily exclaimed, "Is this the person who's keeping you away from me? The one you're seeing?" I was taken aback by her choice of words. How could she say such a thing? I attempted to defuse the situation and calm her down, but she continued to push boundaries, and I eventually responded with my own share of frustration. After all, she had cheated on me twice, abandoned her own children, and now had the audacity to reappear in my life, expecting me to take her back. In my case, there's no cheating involved, yet she called me names and abused Rebecca. I told her never to show her face again. She was a selfish woman who has always thought only about herself. She left after that, but a few days later, Rebecca's shop was vandalized with a note that said, "Leave him." It was a no-brainer to guess it was Sarah. There was no camera installed in her shop, yet I insisted that Rebecca file a complaint against Sarah based on the last incident. Rebecca was reluctant to get into legal battles, but I didn't let it slide. I called Sarah and asked her to come home. I berated her in front of the children and threatened her with a police case if she ever troubled us or poor Rebecca. I didn't want to do this in front of the children, but she called the children to apparently expose me. Obviously, the children sided with me and unleashed their suppressed anger. She was the one who had ruined my kids' childhood, and now she was acting like a victim and blaming me for our shambled marriage. It's been a month or so since all this. It was clear that Sarah did not re-enter our lives. My kids and I apologized to Rebecca for Sarah's outburst and helped her get her shop back in order. My children have been insisting that I marry Rebecca before they leave for college, but neither Rebecca nor I have any desire to enter into marriage again, even though we share a deep love for each other. I've yet to voice these feelings to her. I don't want to get into this marriage nonsense again. I don't think it's for me. I'm happy being a father of 2 children and Rebecca's boyfriend. To those wondering about my entertaining Sarah when she came crawling back, I believe you don't enable the people who wrong you because, in some way, they twist things around and think they have a chance with you, which they shouldn't. She didn't deserve my time or energy in the first place.